here, and you were here 5 years ago, most of you, and I told you then that we would do this every 5 years as long as I'm around. Now, we may not do this exactly the same way, but we will do it. And I thank you all for coming, and you know, these three here are very precious to me. They're right here locally, and Bob and Thelma, we don't see each other very much, but sometimes that's the best thing, because when you do, no, I mean, when you do, you remember how important these people are to you, and we appreciate your being here. Thank you very much.
Yay!
You have been an influence in most of everybody's life that is here.
Yeah, I know.
A positive influence.
Some good, some bad.
Thank you.
There were times when I wondered whether you were having a positive influence on me.
Now, this old fart is 75 and a half. He has a very young wife. Where is she?
She's right over here. Right behind
She's
you.
in her crib.
A young wife.
Dream on.
She still works every day to keep him in money.
Yeah, that's right.
But, no, really. Bob, and what's your name? Eddie, and Joe, and who am I missing?
Jim.
Jim?
Me.
Yeah.
Of the last 4 of 5, Jim last died, now I guess it's almost 2 years ago this year. Right?
Yeah.
2 years ago this year. Well, next year we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary of owning that farm in New York. Joe and Teresa still are there, and that's their place, and they have lived out there now about what, Joe? 27 years?
27 years.
27 years. We one by one dropped out for a variety of reasons, but they were kind enough to allow us to come back there every year. We come back at least twice, sometimes I'm there 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a place out there, a very nice,
Well, I think that what happened
and
was
these 2
that,
brothers have a place out there too.
and when I bought the other guys out, I promised to keep the farm the way it was, and not to use it as a income piece of property. And I loved it so much, and I know Edward and Don and Jim did also, and I wanted to preserve it for myself as well as my good friends.
He had 2
And
children.
every day when
grew
I'm
up
out there, I think about these things, and I do what's necessary to keep the farm so that everybody can enjoy it. There's trails out there. I don't know whether you guys know some of the trails that I've made, but they've been purposely put in place so that everybody could enjoy them. The only problem is some of us can't walk that far anymore, so we got to use tractors and what have you. But
Joe grows mushrooms out there now.
Well, I don't know if Don ever told you guys, but originally when these 5 guys bought the farm, they began as a group called JERAX, which was their first initial
Or some
conservation club. And they used to go to meetings and everything else, and they learned a lot of stuff, I'm sure, going to those meetings. And they have planted thousands of trees out there. And, you know, Joe keeps up the nature end of it very well.
some of those trees are over 14 inches in diameter now.
Yeah, I believe
You know,
it.
that's a pretty good sized
Yes,
tree.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we started planting the trees in 1964.
Mm-hmm.
We put in the first 1,000, and over 10 years we put in 10,000 trees.
Joe and, not Joe, Eddie and I, he got out of the military, and he was in the Navy on the Enterprise during the Cuban crisis. And when he got out of the military, he and I went out there in the dead of winter in March. It's about 85 miles from Buffalo, and we went to look at a different piece, a very much smaller piece of land, and the person said, well, by the way, I know somewhere else you could look that's for sale. So we go over to this place, and the snow was truly, what, up to
Yeah,
our
oh, yeah.
hips? I mean, it was pretty
March.
deep.
Yeah. it was still
You weren't
March.
gonna be able to walk around. And the old farmhouse that was built in 1860 was still there, and that's where the old man and his son lived. And it had indoor plumbing, but the pipe went out to a field. And it had spring water, but that spring is still functioning after probably 100 or more years.
Yeah.
And at one point, we were gonna bottle water during the early water rush, when everybody thought, you know, who's gonna buy water? Little did we know. But anyway, we didn't. And we're sorry we didn't, because it wouldn't have really destroyed anything. It just would have allowed us to make money and maybe not have to work at that point. But it didn't happen. So Joe, meantime, has now some cattle, grows his own beef. He had a horse that was there for how many years?
11 years for the one horse and 4 for the next.
And that became very expensive to try to feed these animals. As he said the other day, you can go to Wegmans, which is the big supermarket up there, and buy his meat much cheaper than he can raise it.
Oh, yeah.
What's a bag of corn now?
$9.95.
Yeah, her father has some cattle out at their farm, but it was 150 acres, no, 180 acres that we bought originally for $5,500 in 1963. With a house, a barn, and what, at least half fields cleared then,
Yeah.
about half, with lots of old apple trees that were still producing. We made cider in the early years. Did a lot of different things, but none of us were married at that point. And I'm the only one that stayed single. But they all found lifelong wives. You're gonna celebrate 50 years when?
Next year?
Next year?
This year, or next year.
Yeah. And
Yeah, we done 45 this year.
you're at 35, and you.
45.
45.
You've already had 50?
No, no, we got married in 66, so we got, this will be.
4
what,
more years.
46 years for you this year.
Yeah, 4 more years, 50 years.
We got married in 67.
But we don't know if it's gonna last. It's on shaky ground.
Yeah, keep hearing that talking.
Here is Teresa. Teresa,
Yes.
if
No.
it doesn't last, you know what I told you?
What's that? Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'll come up there and marry you and we'll put in windows.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It's been a lot of
it's a group
fun.
of people who really had very little in common at the beginning, and how this all survived all these years, you know, sometimes we all ask that question.
So how did you all know each other?
Well,
Kind of through mutual friendship.
he's a cousin of Eddie.
Yeah. And I was dating his sister.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, I was dating his sister.
But then he married his cousin.
Well, you weren't dating my sister when I met you. You only
Yes.
dated her after I met you.
No, it was before.
You just
Well,
Before I
she
met
never
you.
told me about you.
Yeah. Whenever we went to the show, we had
Wait
to
a
take
minute, wait a minute. Now,
you.
my father didn't let her date anybody.
I know, we had to take you along. Whenever I took his sister out, he had to go along.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That's how
I used to
met
date a girl too, and I used to take Eddie along with me too.
So did she have to take you along when she was dating Donnie?
No, I was in the service then.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So eventually, my wife is his cousin.
Oh, okay.
This is like West Virginia, by the way.
After the years.
So you could have married for your
So I think he was one of the dates that he got from me, and I used to get him dates, but he never married anyone.
No, it was all through mutual friendships that we were all together.
Yeah, truly, and there were others involved.
And my cousin and other good friends were all in the Army Reserve with them.
Yeah,
You know, that's how we met Don. Yeah, that's how we met. And, you know, in February, the year I got out of the service, we were over to one of the friends' houses, and And somebody says, well, it'd be nice if we had a country place.
Listening to all
Well,
this.
he took that up, went out the next day,
They know,
finds it. You know,
don't mention anything you don't want to
yeah,
happen.
right. There we go, him and I going down looking at some
A picture
property.
of what you want
That's how it
carved.
started.
And
Well,
then,
anyway, then, so we bought this 55,
Your dad will
I mean, for
help you
5,500, we bought this 180 acres from this
And then,
84-year-old farmer
Uncle
who believed that airplanes
Mark
were
will
germ
help
spreaders
Karen.
and believed that when they landed on the moon, of course, he had a 6-inch set, that was all fake, boys. They did that in a studio. I know them folks ain't gone nowhere to the moon, and he believed it. Well, anyway, he was a very nice guy. But then we had a feud, family
Wait till you're
feud,
ready, so you can try out.
and he had a right-of-way
I
for
think
20
it's- I
acres.
think it was in the chart.
That was it.
And he parked all of his farm equipment on that right-of-way one day. And it was trouble.
That's only for marking the pumpkins.
I guess, I don't know how we
Did you
solved
hear
that
what I
one.
said?
I don't remember these.
But anyway, we ended up buying the 20 acres to get our right-of-way
Oh,
back
yeah, I can see
for
it.
$3,000.
Phew.
But we ended up with 200 acres
Ah, piece of chocolate.
and it still was a good
It is-
deal.
and
And
it's
the
still-
taxes then were $1 an acre. Now Bill's taxes are $5,000.
And that 200 acres is still intact?
200 acres, you're right.
It's at the end of a road, it's very private.
I did a vampire face up here.
Here's chocolate face.
We'll make
I'm glad you're able to preserve it.
Yeah, Joe's been around.
There you go.
vampire face.
Oh.